Hello and welcome back to SketchUp Assist. In this video, we're going to take a look at the Medeek Truss plugin, so stick around. So in this video, we're going to dive into the Medeek Truss plugin a little and show you how to model a roof like this, for example. Now we'll go into some of the functionality, but not nearly all of it. It's a very powerful tool. There's a lot of functionality in here. But we'll certainly get you what you need to probably do 80 to 90% of the work that you're typically going to need to do. And I just want to note that this is not a sponsored video. I use Medeek Truss and some of the other Medeek plugins. I find them very, very useful. So this is just me sharing some of the learnings that I've picked up as I use these tools. So thanks for watching. Okay, to get started with the plugin, you're going to want to head over to design.medeek.com. And when you scroll down a little bit here on this homepage, you will see a list of extensions that they offer. We're talking the Truss plugin, so we're going to click on this. It's going to take us to the Medeek Truss homepage. And here you can find lots of information on this plugin. It's very, very capable plugin. It is not a free plugin. So I'll scroll down here. You'll see that they do have a trial version, so you can install a trial version here to follow along. It is limited to 30 days and more or less full functionality, but there is a span limit that they invoke there. If you want to get a permanent license, $150 currently. The subscription's $50 a year currently. And something that might be of interest if you do quite a bit of design work, you might want to look at getting this bundle where you get wall truss, floor, foundation, and project for a pretty significant discount, really. So $280 for a permanent license. Now you only get upgrades for that first year, and after that you'll have to pay for upgrades. They do offer an educational and military option in terms of the subscription. So you can find lots of information on the capability and the terms of the plugin here. Now, I scrolled past this kind of quickly. There is currently a discount for Thanksgiving, so if you happen to see this soon enough, you can go ahead and get this 30% discount on the bundle. So that might be something worth looking at. Now, if you purchase a license or a subscription, you will have a page like this. Now, I have a suite here. I ordered the suite, so I've got multiple plugins. If you just do the truss, then you would just have sort of single entry for the truss order. What you're going to want to take from here will be the download link. So this contains the plugin download link that you will need to install this plugin in SketchUp. So you'll want to download this. You can let it get to your download folder or save it wherever you want, but just note where you save it because you'll need to install it in SketchUp. And then towards the bottom of the order form, you will see the serial numbers. Now I'm blurring mine out here, obviously, so you can't see them. But you will also need that plugin serial number. So for the Truss plugin, for example, you will have a plugin serial number. Again, once you install the extension in SketchUp, you'll need that serial number to activate the plugin in SketchUp. Now, to install the Truss extension, you're going to want to go into SketchUp, click on Extensions, Extension Manager, and Install Extension. And you're going to look for that Truss extension here, and you're going to go Open, and it's going to install it. Now, since I already had the Truss extension installed, it didn't ask me for the ID. So let me show you a separate extension. It will have the same behavior. So I'm going to install the floor extension. And this is what you'll see when you install the Truss extension. You'll see this prompt pop up here that asks for that serial number. That's the serial number in the order form that we looked at on the Medeek site. You're just going to want to copy that serial number and paste it in here. Don't try to type it. It's a long number and you'll almost certainly make a mistake. Just go copy it from the order form and paste it into this text window. And when you hit OK, it will then register that plugin for you. Okay, so let's get started. One quick note, if for some reason you need to update your license, the serial IDs for any of your Medeek products, what you can do in the case of Medeek Truss anyway, go into Global Settings, there's a License tab, and in here you'll see the serial ID, and again, that's the serial ID from the order form. And you can update here, save the settings, and that will update your license. It does sometimes take a few minutes for that to kind of reflect, so you will occasionally get some errors saying that your license isn't up to date, even though you've updated it, but just give it a few minutes. Worst case, you might need to restart SketchUp in some cases. Okay, so now let's get started modeling. Let's start off with just some basics. When you go into extensions, Medeek Truss, select roof truss, you will get a pretty wide variety of options here. We're going to focus on the common today. This will be probably what most people are using, unless you have good reason to use something else. As usual with everything, always consult an engineer on these things. Okay, so I've set up this kind of, basic square box, building. The details of this don't really matter that much, other than I will say this is 20 by 20, so it's just a square. What you do is basically come in and select 2 points along the face of the gable in this case. So we're, the side of the building you want the gable to face. Okay, once you've made that selection, oops, I didn't click it. Once you click both of those points, then you can start pushing back. And in this case, I'm going to push all the way back. Depending on your structure, you may not, depending on whatever you're doing. But generally speaking, you're going to push all the way back and click that. So it's really 3 points. It's in this case, the right, the left, and then the back. And then that opens a dialog box. Now, there are a number of common trusses. Fink is probably going to be the one that you want to stick with. Again, unless you have reason to switch out, I would probably stick with that default. The out-to-out span is going to be the width of this side here. So this is the truss span effectively. As I said, this is a 20 by 20 box. So this gets populated automatically by selection. I suppose you could override it, but generally speaking, you don't want to. This is where you select the pitch. We'll put a 612 on this. Then we can adjust the overhang. We have 1 foot here. You can adjust the right and the left overhang. So that's going to be the overhang on this side and on that side. It's set the same as left, but you could put in different overhangs if you want. Here we have effectively the material that they're using to build the truss. So this is top chord, bottom chord, and the web size. So that 3.5, that's effectively a 2x4. And we know the 2 is coming from the ply thickness. So this is 1.5 by 3.5. So this is effectively 2x4 material. You could swap those out to 2x6, 2x8, so on. And you could also go with thicker plies. But again, they're generally 2x4 construction for certainly most residential applications. We won't do a raised hill. Maybe we'll take a look at this, but this basically just lifts the top chord up, and it's generally done when you need a little more room for insulation. Okay, we hit OK, and this will open up another dialog box. Now, here we have building length is 20 feet. Now, that's this direction. Again, we don't need to enter that because when we made our 3-point selection, so 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, that dictated this distance. Again, this distance. The truss spacing 24 is the default. That's generally what you're going to have in most applications. Again, consult an engineer. We will do gable end trusses on this one. Now note, when you do a gable end truss, those aren't sort of structural to span, and they rely on having some load-bearing member here that can hold that truss. So if you were doing like a porch, for example, where you're going to have this end open, you may not want to do gable ends, because if you do, you will need a beam across here to support that. So typically, if you're doing like an open porch cover or something, just stick with the Fink trusses, because that way you won't need a beam across there to support it. Now, you would have a beam here, obviously, to support the loads on each end of the span. Okay. But since we have walls here, we'll go ahead and put those in. And basically, it's just easier to attach material to those because it has straight slats, you'll see. And then the gable stud spacing is going to be, there'll be verticals running on these gable end trusses. That's the spacing in those. 24 is probably fine. You could go 16 if you want, but they're not, again, they're not structural. They're just something to nail siding to. So I will skip the advanced roof options for now. We'll come back and look at some other things. Okay, there we go. So Again, the gable ends have these slats. Again, they're not, they need support. They're not spanning like the Fink trusses are, but that's fine in this case because we have walls to hold them. You can see we've got overhang, and if you're used to seeing these trusses, you'll know that these look pretty accurate. So there you go. That's the basic functionality. One thing to note, the trusses all come in a group. So single group, you can then click into them to select any one, but note they are components. So if you edit any one of these, it will edit the rest. So for example, we come in here and let's just do select this. And you can see already without me doing anything that when you select those, you're actually modifying, you're selecting the others and you're modifying those. So, and then note that the gable ends are distinct though. So right, if we select, I'm having a hard time selecting the gable end. If you see here, now that I've selected this gable end, it's also highlighting the gable end down there. So those are components. So you've got your Fink trusses here, which are all components, and then you've got your gable ends, which are components. Okay, so that's the very basic functionality, but already, if you're doing quite a bit of this, super powerful to be able to create trusses like this this quickly. What else can it do? Let's go back in and look at some of the advanced options. Let's go back into roof truss. We're going to stick with the common truss. And we're going to come down here and, oops, we lost it. Let's come back in. Select. Okay, so again, we're just going to grab the 2 points that effectively define your span. Now make sure you're on the outside edges of your, on the outside edges of your, whatever that footprint is, because otherwise it will skew those a bit. And then we're going to drag back here. Okay. We're going to keep the span the same. We'll leave Fink. Let's put an 812 on this time. We'll leave the overhangs there. We'll leave the 2x4 construction. It's fine. We don't want to do raised heel. Let's go over here. We'll leave all these things the same. What we'll do this time is go into the advanced roof options, and this will open a more sophisticated dialog box here, and we'll run through some of these things. So let's go ahead and kind of do it all up. So you can add the sheathing in. So you can select yes for the sheathing. You can specify the thickness. 7/16 is probably fine. Again, check your local building code if you're really doing this to create specific plans. The material, there's different options. Generally, OSB is probably fine. You can also, and notice too, as I hover over these different topics, that the image over here changes to show you what it's referring to. So now let's put gable wall sheathing on. Not sure why it's at, but it's fine. Who cares? It could be 1/2 inch, generally OSB. Okay, and that's going to cover in that gable. We could do the subfascia. So, at the end of the trusses, they're typically open. You can have it install the fascia for you, 1.5, 5.5, fine. You can also have it install the rake boards. And this will actually create an overhang. So this rake board is, if you're looking at the end of the gable, the trusses stop over the building, over the sort of load-bearing part of the building or the outer wall. This is extending that out to give that overhang. And so you can have it add that in, 16 inches overhang, the rake board 1.5 wide, 5.5. So you could adjust that to have a higher rake board if you wanted. The outlookers, that's what attaches that rake board. So that rake board's attached to those outlookers. You can specify the spacing, 24, 16, whatever you want. We'll leave it 24. You can be 2x4, 2x6 material. Are they structural? No, they're really kind of cosmetic, right? They're not carrying any load. The position can be adjusted to be vertical or horizontal. Doesn't really matter. And then outlookers at the But the roof peak, that is going to be, do you want the 2 outlookers? You probably do, because that's where your OSB sheething will lay across this. And so it's best to have something there to support that center part. Hill blocking, I'm going to leave this no, but you could add in hill blocking there. And you can see this is on the outer side of the load-bearing wall, where the bearing plate is on the truss. Leave that off. You can add in roofing material. There are a number of different colors in here. Let's just go with a charcoal gray. Hip and ridge cap, yes. Gable wall cladding, yes. That gable wall clad is basically siding on that gable wall. The thickness, well, we can leave it 1/4 inch. It would depend on what you're putting in. And there are some options here. Let's do battens on that face. Okay. That's going to be on that gable wall. Soffit cut, this is the notch on the bottom of the overhang, on the bottom of the truss overhang, to receive the soffit. I mean, you can do it if you want. Maybe 1/2 inch up. That way 1/2 inch material will be tucked up above the bottom of that fascia board. The other thing that's pretty cool is you can do these roof returns, which are these sort of decorative pieces that wrap around. It's almost like a hip roof that wraps around. They have hip roof battens. We don't need those. If we were doing metal, we might want to put those on, but we don't want those on with what we're effectively putting a shingle roof on. You can put ceiling gypsum on the ceiling. We don't want to do that right now. And then you can also do gutters. Let's go ahead and do gutters. One thing to note is that after all these selections, there's still going to be some more dialogue. So there's some things in here that will trigger additional dialogue. So if we go submit the options, now it's going to come in and ask us a few more details. So the roof return geometry. We'll do a hip so that it wraps all the way around, but you could do hip, gable, or full. The pitch should match the pitch of the house, so we'll leave that 8. Here we can define how far out the extension comes, and then the length of the extension. Yeah, these defaults are probably pretty good, but if you wanted to adjust them, you could, but we'll leave them there for now. The gutter style, you have a few options here. We'll just go with this K5 standard. The vertical offset, we'll leave it 0. The extension, we'll leave it 0. Downspouts, yes. Downspout length, we'll just leave it 108. Downspout shape, you can go round or rectangular. Rectangular is the most common, at least in the US. And then do we want to wrap it around? Let's wrap it around half. Okay, so that's good on that. And there we go. So this creates our roof now. So here's that gable siding was the batten that we put on. Here are the shingles that we selected. These are the roof returns here. And just to kind of show those dimensions. So it was 23.5. I'm going out to the shingle. I'm not trying to measure it exactly, but that's that 23.5 dimension effectively. And then the 4 feet was this extension. That other dimension that was in there is basically this one. So roughly, so those dimensions on that roof return will kind of dictate how far over that comes. If we click in here and we hide this, and let me get out because you can't really see it. You'll see that there's OSB in here. By hiding that, you can also see here's the ridge that we ask it to add, the ridge shingles. There we go. That's that. So I'm going to now get rid of this. Okay, and we're going to come back here. We're going to do one more thing. We're going to look at a feature that you'll probably need at some point if you're building anything other than square buildings. Let's put a little extension on this. Let's come over 10 feet. I'm not gonna get too sophisticated with this. We'll just do a pull out here. Okay, what we want to do is show how to tie in 2 gable roofs with Medeek. Okay, so let's go back. We'll spin around from this direction. So we want to run a gable along this line. So let's come back in, and there are menu options that we can use. So this is the truss selection. We'll do common. Again, we just grab this, pull it over. We'll leave all that the same. I'm not going to do advanced in this case because this is just to show you how to connect two roofs. Okay, so we've just put our gable on here. Okay. Now we're going to put a gable on our addition, and we're going to grab these outer edges, and we're going to run this over. Now this we want to run into here. You might want to hide those to see for sure. I'm pretty confident I'm where I need to be, so I'm going to leave that. Now there is one thing I want to change in here. We'll leave the pitch the same. We'll leave all that the same. What I want to do is on the gable end trusses, I don't want one on this backside because that's going to be a span. So I only want a gable end truss on the front. And the front is defined as where you start. We'll go ahead and hit go. The front is defined as where you define the span. So this would be the front. So now notice on the backside, I don't have a gable end. I've just got a standard truss. Okay. Good. So what's missing here is we need the roofing elements that actually take this gable into this gable, right? Now, you don't want to, just try to run these trusses back through here till they kind of disappear. You could do that, but there's a better way to do that with the plugin. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to use, I'll show you here first. It's the truss set. And it's going to be the valley set. You can also get it from this button here. Okay. We're going to select, there we go. Okay, we're going to select that valley set. Now, this is a little tricky in that getting the clicks to register doesn't always work smooth. And if I have to, provide one critique of Medeek is that the documentation isn't great. There are a number of videos out there, and they are effectively correct, but there are some little pitfalls that you can get into that it doesn't kind of help you through. So that's what I'm going to try to do here now for you. Your best friend is this dialog in the lower left side of the screen where it says click the main roof plane. Okay. The main roof plane in this scenario is, I'm going to zoom out a little bit. The main roof plane in this scenario is this roof plane. This is the roof plane we're tying this gable into. So we're going to tie this gable into this main roof plane. And I think I've just lost my connection, so let's come back here one more time. And come back. Okay. So, and you'll see down here it's now in Valley Truss mode, and it's asking you to click the main roof plane. Okay. When that happens, this dialog box opens, at least on a Mac, and it's probably going to be the same for Windows. You need to do one click to get the focus back into your drawing here. And so I just clicked one time. Nothing's happening yet. And now you can see that I'm highlighting the trusses in my main roof field. And I'm going to zoom in here because what I want to do is grab a point on that plane. So just kind of any point on the top chord of that roof plane, the top chord on the side that I'm tying into, obviously. Okay. So in other words, I wouldn't want to click down here somewhere else. It's got to be on that. You'll notice in the lower left corner, the dialog changed. Now it says click the center line of the ridge. Okay, so I'm going to zoom back out here, and then I'm going to zoom in so I can just shift my focus without using any other keys or any other movements. And it's asking to identify this point, but specifically to make sure that your spacing is right, what they recommend is to grab this midpoint on this outer truss. So let me zoom out one more time just so you can kind of see where we are. So it's the last truss that we're tying for the gable we're tying into. I'm going to click here. Okay, and if you notice the dialog in the lower left change again, it says click edge of the ridge. So what you want to do, and let me zoom out here so you can kind of see what's happening, is you click this edge now. And that's it. And then when you zoom back, you will see that it is now added in your trusses. Now this is a kind of small roof, so we only have 2 in there. But that's it. Now, couple things. There is a sheathing offset. We didn't adjust it. If you come in here, it's a little too much. You'll see that these joists these trusses, these valley trusses set right on the main roof fill trusses. The reality is you'd probably put sheathing on this before you put those in. If you're going to do that, then you can set the sheathing offset here. 7/16 is what we were using before. That will basically shift the bottom of this up 7/16. The other thing that doesn't come in here, you technically don't need them because these are spanning multiple trusses, is that there are no sleepers in here. You typically do sleepers when you're doing rafters. Since these are technically trusses and they're spanning multiple, you could come in and just block underneath them. But if you did want to put sleepers underneath them, then you could just come in and add an additional offset for that sleeper, and then you would just need to draw those in. To my knowledge, the Medeek Truss doesn't have an option for putting in sleepers if you want those. Okay, so that's it. That's Medeek Truss. There's a lot of capability in this plugin. I think there is a bit of a cost obviously associated with this, but if you're doing a lot of building design, very frankly, buying that one-time license would be well worth the time you're going to spend trying to create trusses if you're trying to draw these by hand. But the ability to put these on, to put the sheathing on, to put the roof cladding on, all of those things are really, really time consuming. And so, if you just kind of step back and do the math on your time, it's a pretty minimal fee to pay to have this capability. That's it. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Hey, if you're finding the channel useful or interesting, please consider subscribing. And if you have any feedback for any of our content, please consider leaving comments. Thank you.